Hi, Holly. It's fabulous to have you here today.
Hello,
Thanks.
Kate.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Thank
You,
you for inviting me.
it's my pleasure. You are my comms person, my fabulous comms person from Blue 51. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Of
And
course.
yeah.
So as you say, I'm Holly. I'm Holly Cardamone. My business is Blue 51 Communications. And every day I get to work with incredible people like you, Kate, to tell your story and grow your brand. And I suppose my what I love about what I do is the storytelling components of it. So there's communications and then there's storytelling communications. I'm into the storytelling part of things.
Mm. And that's why I love you so much because I'm all about sharing your story. And you've been through a big story actually with your mum having being diagnosed with cancer. And then through that journey, like I've, heard everything about your mum and how she is and how you are. So I'd just like you to give us, what happened and part of your story.
Okay, so I have always been very close to my mum, always, and my dad, of course, as well. I left home at 18. They live down the coast. I'm in Melbourne, so they're 90 minutes away. But I've always had a very special connection to them, and that even when I became a mother, that just amplified. And my kids are the only grandparents, the grandchildren on both sides, actually. So they're the temple at which we worship. And
Mm.
so my parents have an incredibly close connection with my kids as well, which is just beautiful to watch. Like I had a nana that I adored, so it's lovely that my kids, my girls have had that too.
Mm.
Um, so mum was diagnosed in June of 22. Yes, that must be right because we're in 24 now. My goodness. And it was incredibly confronting because like you're the adult here, mum. What the hell are you playing at? How dare you? How dare you be unwell? And to watch someone who was incredibly strong, like going to the gym 5 and 6 times a week, worked. She was a school teacher and in leadership team, doing amazing things. Chemo is incredible and it saves lives, and thank God for modern medicine, but it's also takes a toll. And so seeing that was really, really difficult. Seeing it from afar sometimes was also really difficult, knowing that that I possibly wasn't there as much as I would have liked to have been. Not
Mm.
to say that my dad and my brother weren't incredible, and they were, but like there was that sort of sense of guilt, I suppose, for an older sibling, the usual stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, it was tough. It was really, really tough.
Mm. Mm. So how long, like, Um, how did you go through that? Like, how did you cope with not being there all the time and not being, you know, front and center?
Look, there were a couple of times where I'd have a phone call with my dad, and something in his voice would just make me look at my calendar and just clear it for the whole week. And that's what I would do. And I would go down there and I'd cook and just be another person there.
Mm.
So how did I cope? On the other side of things, I don't know that I think I just got through it, which has its strengths and its weaknesses. Someone said to me recently that I'm not very good at taking care of myself, and I
Mhm.
thought that's not true. And then I thought, oh yeah, okay,
Mhm.
true. I tend to just, all right, like Scarlett O'Hara, I'll deal with this problem tomorrow. That's a problem for future Holly. Um, and so in terms of coping, me, Kate, I bury myself in writing, either my own or for clients or helping people with their writing. I also bury myself in a ton of reading. And look, there's always been books and poems about grief, as you know, that that's one of our universalities. But I
Yeah.
felt like every book that I picked up had some sort of grief motive, and it was like,
Yes.
seriously, can you just give me something light and fluffy here?
Yeah, yeah. And that's what happens, isn't it? It's like these grief bombs that happen. It's like you're in grief. Like remember that bit, remember that, and it's okay to remember and not push
Yeah,
it down
that's
as
it.
well.
And the other thing that I did probably halfway through, because mum had probably about I think it was a 6 month treatment from go to woe.
Wow.
And so it was one of those days that I went down there and she wasn't particularly well. And it was one of my first sort of shocks. You know, I was showing her a photo of my girls and she was holding my phone and it was trembling.
Oh.
You know, that was quite, you know, and obviously that's just a physical manifestation of what her body was going through. But it was quite, you know, like seeing her that frail was like, there was no escaping it. But I
Yeah.
did say to her that day, what's something you always wanted to do, Mum? And one of the things she said was, I always wanted to go to France. You know, I learned French all the way through school. Would have loved that, but it's not something your father would be interested in. And
Oh,
I just squirreled that away and then pulled my dad aside and said, hey, Dad, what do you reckon? When Mum's on the other side of this, what about her and I? What if we have a trip to France? We'll go to Paris, we'll do a, you know, trip. And he said something like, oh, that sounds amazing, but do I have to go? And I said, actually, no, but do you mind paying for it? And he was more than happy to do that. So
yeah.
that became something that, you know, that long-term picture of a different state of being, something where we could be on the other side of all the awfulness, and be in
Yeah.
a different space and celebrate that.
Mm.
That was a good focus for me, a really good distraction.
Distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But also, I feel it's important to celebrate that at the end as well,
Yeah.
because you've had a long journey, no matter, you know, whether it was a month, 6 months, or 12 months. It's a long journey of chemo and all the stuff that that does to your body and your family,
Yeah.
how that impacts your family and your poor mum, you know, not being able to go to the gym or, you know, even walk or get out
Yeah.
of bed sometimes
Yeah.
is really difficult. So it was a good focus without being that toxic positivity as
That's
well.
it. Yes. Yeah,
So it's,
absolutely.
yeah, so it's like, okay, after this, we have this focus, we have this plan to actually do this amazing thing. And I loved seeing all your photos and your mum's so healthy as well.
Well, the thing is, we didn't actually tell her about it until she'd finished her last treatment. So I sent an email to her oncologist and I said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Is this realistic? Because I
Mm.
didn't want to say, ta-da, and then have
Yeah.
to go, yeah, that's not a good idea.
Mm.
So I really wanted his his I suppose, yeah, realism. Like, am I being
Mm.
practical here? Is this something that can physically be feasible? And he came back with, go for it, have an amazing time. So we
Mm.
surprised her with it on Christmas Day. My younger daughter did a picture, like a sketch of the Eiffel Tower, and that's how we told her. And she looked at me, she looked at my dad, and she just burst into tears. And it
Oh,
was the most magical feeling. But I also think that um, gave her 4 or 5 months then to think, okay, this is where my energy stores here. It
yeah.
gave her 4 months to get herself to a physical state where she knew she could walk for hours. Um,
Yes.
you know what it's like in Europe, you know,
Yeah.
you're walking a lot. Um,
Yes.
and you know, and you want to. And so I think that was really, really positive for her as well. It gave her a concrete goal that she could incrementally work towards. And it
Yeah.
was incredible. It was bloody amazing.
I know. And I know, like for myself, I know what it's like to lose your energy and to be ill,
Yeah.
you know, and then to try and get your energy back, to be able to do something like even walking. Like Europe is like hills and stairs, and, you know, even doing that, that's amazing to
Yeah.
have, you know, and not pushing yourself too much as
That's
well.
it. Yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
we planned around that, and well, she didn't, I did, but I
Yeah.
could see when we were somewhere, I could see, if I could see she was starting to flag.
Mm.
It was bloody Paris. There's a cafe. If you can't throw a cat without
Yes.
hitting the cafe, so we'd sit there and have an amazing hot chocolate, and you know,
Yeah.
I just watch her revive herself, and not make a big deal out of it, obviously, and then off we'd trot again, and we'd see something different, and so it was, you know, like, it wasn't one of those trips where every minute's jam packed. You know, I tried to make sure there was heaps and heaps of space there. There was
Mm.
one day we were in the north of France on this in this gorgeous little seaside village, and we literally just wandered the streets for 2 hours, and we'd
Yeah.
take photos, and it was very. I tried to keep it as relaxed as possible, but then there were times like we're in Monet's garden, and you know the wisteria's in bloom, and I'm going, oh my god, you know, like, look at these, look at, there's bloody irises in, like these images, paintings that she'd studied as a young kid,
Yeah.
we're in the middle of this freaking painting basically come to
Yeah.
life. And so, but then I'd follow that up with a slow or a bus ride somewhere else where we're just
Mm.
literally sitting doing nothing but looking at the scenery.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and it's important, I think, too, when you're recovering from that something as big as that, or, recovering from anything, that the other person is present with your energy,
Yeah,
that they understand that you can't walk,
yeah,
20 kilometers today at, 10 kilometers an hour. It's
yeah,
like, let's just amble, let's do this.
yeah.
So, yeah, for both of you to be able to enjoy it. So,
That Look, there was one day I was probably in the third week where we were in London by then, and she had picked up, you build your stamina. Um,
mm.
I looked down at one point at and we'd done 13 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, like
That's
she slept
awesome.
like a log that night. Like that was a night and that's the other thing. Like we had lots of picnics in the room. So
Yeah,
rather go back to our room, chill out and then get dressed and go out for dinner. There were
yeah,
quite a few times I just thought, you know what, why don't we just have a picnic in the room? And I'd
yeah,
go down and grab some food, and that's what we do. So it wasn't that pressure to be constantly moving, from sun up to sundown as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. I
Mm,
love that.
yeah.
I love that it was like, oh my gosh, 13 kilometers. Wow, that's amazing. And
Mm.
then also being able to sleep
Well,
after that.
yeah, yeah, she did. I
Yeah.
have my love-hate relationship with sleep, as you know, anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was really special.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. So you got through, like, was that like a year after your mum was diagnosed as well?
It was
Were
just
you in
shy
a
of
bit?
the year.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah. So I know, like, I've got to stop saying like, I'm sick of it. There's some other word, and like, they're my things. But I know you took the girls to your mum's and dad's farm just to be there, just to enjoy company with your parents. And you're of Italian background.
Yes.
So, yeah. Tell me about the family relationship with your family and your mum and dad.
Um, it's funny. We were there yesterday again. So we did a day trip yesterday, and we were talking about my dad in particular has always, like, we had lots and lots of troubles when I was a kid, and one of his things was always finding the joy and finding the fun. So even in Pompeii, he ran off ahead of us. And mum, she still rolls her eyes at him to this day, but he ran off ahead and he didn't. Have you ever been to Pompeii, Cait?
No, I haven't.
It's
No.
amazing. So there's all these, what was little, would have been taverns, but now they're sort of underground under the ruins.
Yeah.
He just took off and disappeared. And so he's hiding in one. Here's this coming, jumps out, and went booga, 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 and a couple of German tourists. And like we heard the screaming, and mum said, "Oh, that's your father, the fool. He would have had something to do with that." And sure
Yeah.
enough, it was him. So
Oh, no.
yeah, so we've laughed all our way around the world. Like
Yeah.
so we've always had a really close family relationship and connection that's only, with the kids, they're always been part of it. So that the farm is as much their home as it is mine, as it is theirs, as it is
Mm.
my grandfather's.
Mm.
So yeah, we're probably a little too interwoven.
Do you think? But you can say stuff, that a lot of other people can't, talking to your mum about what
Yeah.
she's going through and talking about what you're going through with your mum as well.
Look, I probably one of the things we did when we were away, which was amazing. So I think too, like, you go into protector mode. Um, like I was never ever toxic in terms of you're gonna be fine, you're fine.
Yeah.
I was never like that with mum. Back up, you can do it.
Mm.
Always realistic and respectful of that as well. But when we were in France, one of the things I was doing then is the Haiku a Day project, which came
Oh,
to me
yes.
Briss from Auslit teacher. So it's something she taught me a few years ago. She doesn't like journaling. I
Yeah.
love journaling, as you know. But
Oh,
yeah,
and
so
I
it's,
hate haiku.
yeah, it's a haiku a day, 17 syllables, so 575.
Yeah.
And it was fun, like while we were away. So I got mum doing that as well. And every morning at breakfast we'd talk about it and compare what hers were compared to mine. And she,
Wow.
she got quite addicted to it. And I think doing that, like condensing what I was feeling into 17 syllables was really, really good for me. And it was also like, as someone who loves language, I found it really it was a really nice focus to find words that weren't the same words every single day about how I was feeling. So it wasn't all just about fear, like trepidation's a good one. So that's
Yeah.
to put in. That in terms of a grieving process, I felt that was really good because I put a nice little container on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also allowed me a safe sort of space to tease at it and poke at it like a bit of a bruise a bit as well.
Yeah.
Um, there's this poem I came across, I reckon it was only 15 or 16. It was Emily Dickinson, and it's I've written it down because I wanted to talk to you about it, but it's
Hmm.
after great pain, a formal feeling comes.
Hmm.
I don't remember what poem it's from, but it's been in my head for years, but I'll find it and send it to you. But I've
Yeah.
really liked that because that formal feeling to me speaks of numbness. And I honestly believe that I don't know if it was an intentional thing or if it was a protective thing, but there was a lot of, it was almost like a wall between what I was feeling and what I was experiencing and what I
Hmm.
was expressing. So I found like those haikus gave me a space to unpack that a little bit, but not in a way that meant I wouldn't be able to get on with the rest of my day, for example.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I was going through, supporting my dad, supporting my mum, supporting my kids, running a business, writing. Let's try and throw in some Holly time in there as well.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the year I started training for the marathon as well. So there was all this stuff that was just happening, happening, happening. And
Yeah.
um, so I think that was nice that every day I had 17 syllables to just make a little record of what was going through my head,
Wow.
I suppose.
How do you even do that? Like the 17 syllables. I remember doing it at school and I
Yeah,
hated it. And I still do. So
yeah.
how do
It's
you?
it's not the traditional haiku in that the traditional haiku is all about nature. And I think there's some oh, getting technical, I won't worry about that. But it
Yeah.
was basically what I did, which was Rissa's idea. One of those cheapy diaries just from Kmart, which is a day to a page.
Oh, yes.
It's up there, I'll show you. On the literally on the top shelf, so it needs a ladder, but I really liked it. So it was just like if it was a day at the beach, there was one of them, I can only remember the one thing, it was dragonflies flit and flutter. So that's the 7 syllables.
Yeah, right.
Waves crashing to rocks, that's the 5. So
Yeah,
you just think about what your day was like. I like the senses, and then you find
yeah.
ways to grab them in just those syllables.
Well,
575.
yeah. I'm going to have to get you to train me in it, I think, because it sounds really succinct, for your feelings and that numbness,
Yeah,
a natural thing in grief as
yeah.
well. And for you to actually go deep for that haiku, it makes sense, that you are actually acknowledging your feelings.
Yeah, I think I was acknowledging them, but it was also moving beyond the surface level as well, making me go a little
Mm.
bit deeper with what I was feeling.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it's so visual as well. Like I could get a visual on what you were feeling in that.
Yeah,
So maybe I need to add that to my journaling of the morning to try to
maybe,
enjoy it.
or maybe even at night time. So it's
Yeah.
a reflection of your day.
Yeah, yeah, because I journal morning and night, and I
Yeah,
probably spend 2 hours of a night rather than doing anything else. But yeah, that maybe haiku might be better overnight for me as well. Yeah. So you did have Holly time in amongst all that time because you started training for the marathon,
mm.
and I know you love the beach as well. So I feel like there were lots of walks on the beach during that time, or was there?
Look, there was definitely lots of runs.
Mm.
Then just like the week before mum sorry, a week after mum's diagnosis, I did a half marathon in Queensland. Crossed that line like and I fell apart. I think
Yeah.
I've been running for 21 kilometers. As I hit the finishing chute,
Mm.
there was a woman on the side who had her, hair cropped short. She had her statement glasses, bright red lipstick, and she called out my name and said, "Come on, love, you can do it." And I
Oh,
completely lost it. So
yeah.
across that finishing line like I was dying,
Yeah.
basically. Well,
Yeah.
it was not pretty. But
Oh.
even that, like having that focus of, my 4 runs per week in the diary, forcing me to go outside and move my body.
Mm.
Also
Mhm.
be grateful. What I nearly said then.
Mm.
Be grateful for my health as
Yeah.
well, and what I could do with my body as well. That was really important to me. Like, I was 49, 48 and 49 then. So yeah, my health is something that I don't take for granted. So I
Mm.
really
Mm.
wanted to celebrate that and acknowledge it.
Yeah, yeah. And even with your mum being so healthy as well, and then being diagnosed with cancer, that's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
for all of you. Like,
Yeah.
just expect to be healthy for the rest of your life
Well,
because
that's
you've
it.
lived healthy.
And look, statistically, obviously, it's not that remarkable, but
Mm.
statistics and your own personal experience are two different things.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, and so you love running,
Yeah, I love having run.
right? Do you, because you're doing a marathon, aren't you?
I've just sent Jackie, who's my incredible friend, but
Yeah.
also she writes my programs and all that sort of stuff. I just sent her a
Hmm.
message saying, "What are you doing on the 17th of October?"
Yeah.
So that's a full marathon, that one. So that'll be my
Yes.
second.
Oh,
Um,
wow. God.
and my only goal for that one, so I did my first one last year, as you know, for my 50th. My only
Yeah.
goal for this one is just to go a bit quicker.
Oh,
Um,
right.
at that one, I was as slow as a wet week, so I'd like just to be slow as a normal week.
Yeah.
Rather
I don't know how you do marathons. I've only ever done half marathons, and that's me done.
yeah, just double that. Do your half and then
Yeah.
go.
No, no, thanks. No, not at all. But what do you do while you're running? Like,
So it's funny that you should say that. So
mm,
when my two first half marathons, so the first one was a bit of a lockdown project. So, as
mm,
you know, I'm in Melbourne. So I did my first one with my older daughter. So we talked basically. We chatted I think we trained for about 12 weeks for that half marathon. And that was
mm,
with Jackie as well, which was amazing.
yeah.
And we did our second half one, which was the one in Queensland. Same thing,
Mhm.
we just talk.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and then for the fall one, she was in year 11. Her homework just exploded, and of course now she's year 12, so there's no way. So she
Mhm.
said, good luck, mum, but you're on your own with this one. And so I've got an amazing program. So, and I'm someone who likes ticking off a list. But
Yes.
some of the on the weekends, there's usually a 2 hour or 3 hour run schedule. Sometimes I listen to music, and then when that starts annoying me, that's when I might switch across to an audiobook. Um,
Hmm.
and another thing I do, I have 2 podcasts that I listen to, and only 2. And one of them's a New Yorker fiction, and
Oh.
that's basically a newish, a modern writer going back through the New Yorker archives and reading a short story, and then they talk about it. And so you can see how that. I like the nerdy part of that. The other
Yeah.
one I like to listen to is called Pulling the Thread, and that's where the author often interviews another author who've written something quite meaty. So one that I listened to last year, what I'm still thinking about, it was about life quakes and
Ah,
these moments. Uh, all these things seem to happen to you. So one of them might be losing a job or
mm,
starting a new job. It might be ending a relationship or losing a relationship. Sometimes it's a milestone birthday, but basically it feels like there's all these pile-ons, and on the
mm,
other side of that, there's a transformation or a transition or a shift of seasons. So it might even become,
mm,
becoming a parent, all these, or losing a parent. So whatever these things happen to you all at once, that's a life quake. And
mm.
I think the reason I liked listening to those sorts of things, um, or flitting between them and music, is because it felt like a conversation. And so
Yeah.
felt like it was going a bit quicker. So it was a little bit more distracting. It wasn't just me, look at me running for 3 hours, throwing myself in the river.
Yeah.
It was like I was having these conversations in my head and my own deep thoughts, and it
Yeah.
almost became almost meditative.
Mm-hmm.
Other times it was just a slog, just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
see someone much older than me and try and catch them. That's the other thing. Or don't let them get too far.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You mentioned you had daughters. So
Yes.
dealing with their grief as well around, because I know you've done a fair bit with your girls.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Um, it was a really tough one because it was telling them that Nana is going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be shit for a while, but Nana will be okay. Science is telling
Mm,
us that Nana's going to be okay on the other side of this.
yeah.
So there was a bit of that, but also um letting them have the space to be frightened, letting them see Nana so they could see it wasn't as scary as they might have thought.
Mm,
And
mm,
that's really tough because, COVID is still bloody everywhere. And with the
yeah.
work, you're dealing with someone with a compromised immune system, like that can feel a
Mm,
bit scary. So, if they were unwell, I didn't take them down there, but, or we'll bring them around. But
mm.
it was funny because in the midst of it, Mum said to them, girls, I've got something for you. This second earring here, Mum and I bought together when I think I was 22. We bought a
Oh,
pair. So she's got one and I've got one, these diamond studs.
yeah.
I don't know when she did this because she's sneaky, but she bought herself another set of diamond studs.
Yeah.
And so she'd give them to my girls for their second one.
Yeah.
And so the older one straight away went and got her second piercing. Like I'd originally said, you're not doing that until you finish school. She said,
Mm-hmm.
Nana's given me this earring. I was like, fine, go.
Oops.
Now the other second one wants it. Now Mum's looking at these kids with these earrings. She said, oh, I was a little bit premature with that one.
Mm.
um, but yeah, it was, look, the girls have both had they have friends who with grandparents who aren't so involved for whatever reason, like whatever reason
Yeah.
people have. My kids' grandparents' days all through primary school, they always had usually at least 4 grandparents there.
Yep.
Um, and I would have my school mum friends send me a message saying, in-laws can't make it. Do you mind if my child sits with your mum and dad and the girls?
Yep.
So they always had this gaggle of children around them as well, like all
Yeah.
3-year-old kinder. So they have friends who don't have that sort of close relationship with their grandparents. They have friends whose grandparents are in their 80s and 90s, so much much older, which has its own sort
Mm.
of problems with it. And I remember my older daughter talking about one of her friends whose grandfather was 92. And she said,
Wow.
well, you don't see him kicking his heels up on the beach, which is what my dad does. Um, so then they do have some friends who are equally close to their grandparents. So I think they
Mm.
both sort of leaned on those friendships quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
One of my older daughter's good friends lost her grandfather in the middle of the pandemic, and which was awful. And
Yeah.
so I think they found a bit of solace in each other there as well.
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
the schools are amazing. I sent their heads of house a message saying, hey, this is what the girls are going through at the moment. Can you keep an eye on them? And they did.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so important that the school knows as
I
well.
think so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that they take care of them.
Yeah.
There's knowing and then there's,
Yeah.
actually care that
Yeah.
follows. Yeah. And you did a fair bit of creative stuff with them as well.
The girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Like some of it was those formal, like I've seen a workshop and, I've booked in me and one of them or me or both of them to that. Like
Mm.
one of them was a collaging workshop, which you would have loved.
Yeah.
I think some of that is just that mindfulness of sitting in a room with other people doing something. So
Mm.
like you're working on your own project, but you've got this hum of activity around you.
Yeah.
My other one, my younger daughter, she is highly creative visually. So we set up an art studio for her, gave her her own space there. And then there'd be times that she'd be working on something and I'd just sit down at the table and start, doing my own little watercolors, just being in this
Mm.
space with her, that sort of parallel space.
Yeah.
always books and writing too, like ever since they were little. But yeah, the last year in particular, gave them both, new journals if they needed them, and, said to them, "This is space for you."
Yeah, yeah. I love that. And I love the way, like, you've spoken to me all through, and I just love the way that your family dealt with everything that was going on, and the love and the presence, like just being present for the other person, not fixing stuff. There was no
Yeah.
fixing ever done. There was taking care of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because it's one of the one things that I couldn't fix. That was a hard thing
Yes. Yeah,
for,
that's
for a
right.
control freak like me. But it was, like even times when I was saying, Nana's going to be fine, like, logically my brain knew it, but then, seeing her shaking, like it was like, have
Yeah.
I just made a promise that I can't? Um, but yeah, thank you for that observation.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's really important that people do that, and slow down, because that's what it felt like for me that you were doing. You were slowing down
Yeah,
to take in your mum and your dad and your family,
yeah,
and being present for them, seeing what they needed, not
yeah,
necessarily seeing what you needed, but still
yeah,
you were in there, your half marathon was done and everything. So that was sort of a focus on you, but also, noticing the numbness in you and
yeah,
doing yeah. And then the France trip, that was, like, I think you need to, like, not everybody can go to Paris, but I mean, I think there needs to be a celebration at the end, at least a party of, what you've been through, and be able to talk about what you've been through as well.
yeah. Look, and obviously, even as you're speaking, then I was thinking there's some enormous privilege going on there, even with my working life, to be able to clear out my calendar like I did. Obviously, there's
Mm.
there's always going to be an impact when you prioritize something over something else.
Yeah.
And for me, it was almost like a refocusing of what's important as well,
Mm.
and then
Mm.
readjusting my diary at the very physical sense of things and practical sense to be more of a reflection of that. So the running thing was good, and my friend Jackie was amazing, saying you can have an hour is not going to kill anyone, go
Mm.
have your hour. And it was good for me, it was good for everyone else as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Paris thing, like even thinking about that, looking back now, what we did, and the memories that we'll have forever.
Mm.
Um, as you know, I've lost my aunties, like both
Mm.
of them in the last little while.
Mm.
My cousins, all of them have said that they would have loved to have done what I did with my mum, like have a trip with their mum,
Yeah.
the opportunity to.
Mm.
I never took the opportunity to, which again isn't a judgment, but
Yeah.
life gets in the way. Life
Well, that's
happens
right. Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
you take that time and make things happen.
Yeah.
And I again, like I know that there's enormous privilege there,
Mm.
um, but I wouldn't have changed that for anything. Like being in Paris with my mum was just
Yeah.
incredible,
Yeah.
incredible. And,
Yeah.
it was, there was one time, you'll love this, when we got to London. I have an amazing travel agent that I work with. The thought of organising flights, all that sort of stuff, makes me want to
Yep.
just cry. So I have someone who does all that, and I didn't realize at the time, but we got to London, we go to check into our hotel, the front desk go, oh, our
Yep.
customer services manager wants to see you. And I'm thinking, great, now what have I done? I've only just got here. Am I in trouble?
Yeah.
It came and she said, I just need to finish something. Can you go up to the second floor? There'll be a glass of bubbles there waiting for you. I'll be there in a second. We got there, we're having our bubbles, we're looking over Westminster Abbey, and this lovely woman came up, sat down with us, and she said, oh, I've seen your booking notes. She said, I believe we're celebrating a birthday. And that was my 50th. And I said,
Oh,
yes.
wow.
And I also believe that we're celebrating, you've just, to mum, you've just had an amazing response from your oncologist. And mum said, oh, yes, in the clear. She
Mm-hmm.
burst into tears, but she'd lost her father 6 months earlier
Oh,
from cancer. And so she read our story about this mother-daughter trip where we're celebrating mum kicking cancer's butt and
mm.
me turning 50. And she just resonated with that. And she said, if you've got 20 minutes, we'd love to do something a little bit special for you. And we said, you've already given us bubbles. We're happy. She
Yeah.
said, no, no, no. They upgraded us. They gave us one of the suites. So
Oh,
for 3 weeks, Mum and I had been sleeping like this,
yes. Yeah.
all
Wow.
across France. And suddenly we've got 2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
There was chocolate cake there was balloons, and
Oh,
this I suppose goes back to that sense of story. Like, we told our story, she
yeah.
came with us and gave us this incredible response,
Yeah.
and we all sat there crying. Like,
Yeah.
she honored her father
Yeah.
in what she was talking about with us. It was
Mm.
just amazing.
Yeah, that's the importance of sharing what you're going through and what you've been through. It's
Yeah,
just, yeah, it's so connecting. Like
yeah,
stories just connect people,
yeah,
and it's sharing yourself with others that
yeah.
they share with you.
That's it. Look, this was always going to be a special trip. Like, I think a mother-daughter trip's always special, or any sort of trip special, but
Yeah,
knowing what Mum had gone through.
yeah,
And
yeah,
she
that's
still had
right.
her short hair then as well, and her passport photo was hilarious. She hates it with a passion, but so everywhere we went, she's showing this, and
Yeah,
people are looking at this, and she'd pat her head, and it's
yeah,
clear what she'd gone through. Like, it's obvious
yeah,
what she'd gone through,
yeah.
and which is enormous vulnerability on her behalf as well. So,
Mm.
I learned so much about her strength and her grace with that strength.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes. I know. It's just, and see, that's all heart connection. It's just so beautiful. Well, Holly, we need to sort of wrap it up. I just want to, like, would you like to share what you do, what you're going to do? Like, I know you're stepping into a new part of your business.
Yeah.
So, what's that all about?
So what I'm doing, so for, like, my business is now, well, it's actually 20 years old, nearly 25 years old, but as Blue 51 Communications, I rebranded 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of what I've done is about, supporting incredible people like you to tell your story, and that's not going to change, but I'm going to be removing things that are on my services list, that to make space for things that I really, double down on what I love doing. That's helping people write books. It's
Mhm.
helping people connect with the potential of their story. Sometimes we're so close to what we do that we don't see where the magic is and where the gold is. So helping
Yep.
people identify that. As you can see behind me, right where my finger is, I
Yeah.
have some of my books and my storytelling cards and my content planners. I did that well, didn't I?
Yes.
Considering there's no way I can reverse a trailer, but I
No.
did. um, yeah, so I have some books, and my storytelling cards are about helping people find the ideas to talk about what they do, but also do it in a way that's a little bit more meaningful and grounded than some of the content marketing stuff that's out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You get to the heart of people. You really do. And you're just so amazing. I can't, highly recommend you enough. Well, thank you for taking the time or making the time today for us. It's so wonderful to speak with you and to hear your journey through what you've been through, some of what you've been through. So
Thank
thanks
you.
so much, Holly.
Thank you. It was
Uh,
amazing, as I knew it would be.
Yeah, thanks a lot. See ya.